Well, Dave, thank you very much for joining me here. I'm definitely excited to be talking with you about your experience, not only as a partner, but in your industry too, as well. And Dave, why don't you kick things off? Can you tell me a little bit about your background and what kind of brought you to this zone?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, thanks for having me. But I've been working with you guys for almost 2 years now. I've been in the restaurant business my whole life. I've been in hospitality since the week I turned 16 back in 1988, and I started working that same week. And I've been in the restaurants my entire career, and I've been all over the world. So I've been all over the U.S. and like Las Vegas, Napa. Currently, I'm in Philadelphia suburb. I was in New York City for a better part of 17 years. So I'm a lover of the space. And, one of the biggest areas, is sources of frustration, for us as operators. I remember when I was just working for like a chef-driven restaurant group in New York City, and we started with one location and grew to three. And one of the biggest sources of daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly frustration was our bookkeeping. And that's never changed. I mean, even now, I've grown and I've been a director of operations for restaurants groups doing anywhere between 500,000 and a million a week in revenue. And so, a lot of complexities, a lot of nuances. And now I consult for restaurants. I have a business, your fractional director of operations, where I'm kind of a hired gun and I help people go in. And it's really kind of shocking to me the number of people who either distrust the idea of AI around bookkeeping, or who frankly just didn't know that it could do what it is capable of doing, and at the price point that it's capable of doing it. One of the ways that I was actually able to land a client not that long ago is, she was kind of kicking the tires and trying to see what I really understood and what I was really comfortable, or actually knowledgeably able to speak to. In my proposal to her, I was like, one of the areas is I'm going to streamline your administration and your back office non-value add activities, such as bookkeeping. And that, this is an area I'm going to save you a significant amount of money. When I said $500 a month, or $750 a month, she was like, that's expensive. I go, no, it's not. And in fact, if you have a solution that's as precise as what I know with the guys over at Uplinq, I'll tell you what, I'll switch to that. And she said she runs like $1 billion company. She immediately called up her CFO and her director of operations, and she's like, how much time of our accounting department is allocated towards our cafe? And like, give me a number. And they came back to her with a number of 4,800 a month. And I was like, yeah, we're a fraction of that. So we're instantly going to save you that, and you're going to be more precise. And, now that individual can do value added activities. So, I mean, like, this is a way that I think often, like, I want to help restaurant operators get on the floor, because I've been there. I understand how it is.
Definitely.
My life has been in restaurants my whole, since '88, and I've been general manager, director of operations since the early 2000s. This is what I do.
Definitely. And so, Davey, you said a lot of things very, very interesting in that. And one of the biggest questions I have, especially from your point of view, what are a lot of the issues that you see when you step in working with a customer that doesn't quite have their books in order, isn't really a priority for them? What are the mistakes that you're seeing that once it gets fixed, the direction you can take them? What are the issues that exist in there that you can catch so quickly when books are actually done in a correct manner?
Well, it's funny, before I even get to the books, before we even log into QuickBooks and we pull a P&L or look at a balance sheet and that sort of thing, their invoice discipline or lack thereof, right? And like, usually that's indicative of everything. Like, how particular they are, like how regimented they are on documenting things on the invoices, like you hear often about how restaurants are very meticulous and particular about the guest experience and when people come into the building. But what about the back of the building when the deliveries come in and the invoices come in? Where does that invoice go? Who's accountable to it? Who's following up on it? How does it get tracked and managed? And how long until it's accurately reflected into the P&L? That is an area that I could tell more about that than I can actually, sometimes right off the bat, I'm like, okay, I could tell already that there's a lot of low hanging fruit here in terms of like how we can dial in the operation and make their cost of goods structure, ensure that prime cost is exactly where it needs to be, and they're not leaving money on the table. Do they have a regimented system for tracking ingredient cost? And, do they have their P&L? I like when the P&L is broken out, not just into like macro food or beverage categories, but you've got subcategories there that you're able to follow up on and track as well.
from your side, how often when you start to engage with the customer, are they even thinking about doing a system like that? Are they just coming to you saying, "Hey, I know I have issues, but I don't even know how to solve it"? Or are they coming to you that, "Hey, I want to start doing this"? What's the type of person that actually comes to you and starts working with you?
Well, I think they're usually they've tended to be really ambitious and want to do this, but they find that the juice isn't worth the squeeze. That it just takes far too much time to get the thing set up to where it's bearing fruit. And like, I'm in the restaurant business. This is what I hear, right? I'm in the restaurant business. I'm not here to be part of the IT department. You know what I mean? I'm not here to be like a software engineer, and it just does my head in. It's whoever designed this didn't really understand me as the end user, and so we tried setting it up. You know, whatever the program is, and there's a lot in the restaurant business. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but if you reach out to me privately, I'd be happy to. But you know what I mean. But like in these instances, like there's just not a real understanding or empathy for. And I was just talking to a couple franchisees that I helped get across the line, right? And they said to me, "I feel like my bookkeeper is working for the IRS, and it isn't working for me." And it's like, this is an ongoing, I need detailed information so that I can make better decisions in my business. How can I run my inventory tighter? How can I have better inventory turns? Am I doing the best job possible with labor? How should I be, allocating money for the future? If it's a CapEx account, you know what I mean? If it's partner distributions, am I doing the right thing? Like, there's a lot of questions that they end up having. And I constantly hear, see, witness, compounding frustration around wanting to get to that place, but having this software hurdle or this human error prone individual that they have to work with that's a roadblock, an impediment to them getting that level of detail and info that they want.
Definitely. And so, like you said, you've been working with us for a while now. And so I'm curious that those are the problems that, I mean, we hear all the time from our regular other small business customers, right? You're coming in from a consultancy role. What has been the impact that you've seen that from our side as Uplink? What's the impact that you've seen that we've brought into the table?
Precision, a daily P&L, just a level of comfort and insight. I've had better responsiveness, truthfully, better responsiveness from the support bookkeepers with you guys. And your guys, you're clearly trying to scale, and the human in the loop that you guys have on your end with regards to accounts have had greater responsiveness than companies who were supposed to be subject matter experts in hospitality, were former big guns in the hospitality world, and now they started at an accounting firm, and they just could not get it done. The instances that come to mind to me the most is a scenario where we had a restaurant group that had basically doubled in size from 3 to 6 locations, and that they were going to have a commissary kitchen, and that within their company, they had a bunch of due to from transactions where different entities were producing item like a commissary kitchen or a bakery, and they were producing items for one another. And they had to, for the most part, restaurants, we don't really have a big accounts receivable division, right? And, we usually in the day for the day. And every once in a while, we'll take deposits for events in the future. But for the most part, we settle everything in the day. And there's gift cards as an exception as well, right? But internally in a restaurant group, you're not used to having all of these transfers. So we would have due to froms, and all of a sudden this became like angel hair pasta. And they just could not sort it out. They could not get us to that level of clarity. And it's almost like humans, like we white out from too much complexity. We just can't do it. And so not once they were able to give us a P&L, but they couldn't give us a balance sheet. And it was kind of a joke, to be honest with you. And then as soon as we got Uplink, within 2 months, it was like clear. It's pretty wild.
And so,
So,
what has that meant for your customers now that you do have that clarity? What type of decisions are you guys able to make more intelligently now that that data is readily available for you?
well, I mean, really, what it comes down to is that I think like when they have a real time P&L, they can tell how well they actually are trending without having to speculate based upon numbers that haven't been reconciled yet. And so they're able to make better decisions and more ambitious decisions because they have real numbers. They're not guessing, right? And so when you're not guessing and you're not trying to make like, a scientific wild guess about where you're going or make assumptions about what cash flow is actually going to look like or what it's projected to look like, they just make better decisions, right? They make better decisions, and there's just a level of comfort and clarity. I'm helping another operator who she's in her 70s now, and she's been like a long-standing, like she's a force of nature, man. She's unbelievable, and she's been there for 25 years, and she wants to sell her business, and she's been reaching out to her CPA, who she's had for almost 20 years, and I needed a bunch of documents from her just to make an assessment of her business, and they really should just be boilerplate things, right? And they struggled to get them to us. I'm still waiting on documents now, right? And it's like, how is in today's world that's still happening? And when I pointed it out to her without being like, derogatory or that sort of thing, it was like, this isn't really in today's world, this isn't really acceptable. There's no good excuse for this to be like this. And you're grotesquely overpaying for underperformance. So I think in many areas, one of the issues when people would say, well, like, oh my God, like AI is taking people's jobs. Like, and I was like, no, it's not. In this instance, you have somebody in your company who knows your products, who knows your services, who's used to the nuances and cadence of your business. And now deputize them and get them to do value added activities, get them to be a purchasing officer, get them out there hunting down better deals for you. Like, no, now you get to have them on the offense instead of, part of the digestive process of a business. You know what I mean? Like they actually redirect them in the right direction. If you feel bad about them, you should feel bad that they're doing maniacal desktop QuickBooks 1998 duties, right?
Yeah,
That's what you should feel bad about, right?
definitely.
Yeah.
Coming from my background in the hospitality industry too, it's one of those industries, and there's still a few handful out there that you guys have a little bit more old fashioned way, right? You guys are primarily a lot of times dealing with cash transactions, right? One of the few left out there that
Mhm.
actually gets cash on a daily basis for a lot of pieces, or paper invoices from the food vendors that are coming in. Right now, we're talking with an AI company that's all this technical. What does that mean when you work with us, but you still have those pieces? Is it still a simple process? What does it actually mean for your clients when you work with us, even though you have some of those legacy style systems in play?
Well, I mean, when it comes to actually being able to conduct like a thorough audit and triangulate on what cash on hand actually should be, it's faster. What if you have analog receipts? We've had instances where you guys have kicked it back to us and just like, is this really supposed to be categorized in a certain manner? And then once it is, then we already know that, okay, the bread vendor, the baguette guy, he's doing everything old school and doesn't care if you want stuff typed out. Like that's not he's a craftsman. He's got flour under his fingernails. He could care less. But over time, you guys just figure it out and you just always know it's going to go to that category. Right. And so either you have your human in the loop or we have ours. I mean, the key thing is that we're not just letting this happen willy nilly, right? It's going to be monitored for integrity, both on your end and on our end.
Great answer, I think.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean that
I
to me
like
is
the flower under the fingernails. That really gave
this
like
is
the
yeah,
perfect picture of the baker at that point.
yeah, but this is I mean, like we get invoices where there's schmutz on the invoice, and you could tell that, like, right, like somebody clearly, there's like we have to. The reach of a restaurant is really kind of fascinating, right? Between like we work with folks like you, invariably we're going to have a plumber, an electrician, a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker. They're all coming here. And like the reach of a restaurant is really pretty wild and profound, right? And is really cool. And the I don't know, the preponderance of invoices is pretty crazy. And it really just gets to be like, hey, man, it's hard enough in today's world to coach, mentor, train, and keep people excited about restaurants and about dining. And this is not like demeaning, remedial, immigrant work. This is a craft. This is a profession, and it should be treated as such. But there's still, you know how it was. You were an operator, right? At the end of a 10, 12-hour day, you're kind of dying inside when you still got another 90 minutes to 3 hours of admin. And this is admin that can be done better than me, especially me after I've already given everything to the public in our dining room. Between my needy team and the clientele that also need, like at the end, what do I got? I don't have precision thinking to make sure my books are precise, right? Or to follow up and kind of flog my bookkeeper, right? Like I don't like this is an activity that I just should just this needs to be a piece of history. You know what I mean? Like someone out there is still making horseshoes, right? But it should just be like a cute thing that people look at and like, oh my God, like the Amish churning butter. It's a cute thing to look at, but I don't want that to be us. And definitely I want to know that I'm a part of best practice, right? That like what I'm doing is on the cutting edge and no one's doing it better. And I mean, that's why we're talking, right?
Well, Dave, I definitely appreciate all these words. I think this is fantastic insight into kind of your experience, your background, kind of the industry itself too as well. Is there any other talking points that you want to bring to attention that we haven't conversed on this call so far?
Well, I mean, like, this isn't just, this can work fabulously for multi-unit operators, but single unit operators, you actually don't have the benefits that so many, and most people know this right now. You don't have buying power because you're not at a publicly traded company. You're not a regional power player with, 38 stores, right? So as a single unit operator, there's like a kit of tools that can still give you a leg up and that you can mitigate cost. And this is one of those tremendous areas that you can do that. So I mean, like, to me, this is like something that, you're a single unit mom and pop, or you're a franchisee and you're part of this huge scaled operation. Both of you can benefit equally from this service. Like, that to me is a very big deal. And then there's the integrations and harmonization with, every industry has their own software to help people manage their prime costs, right? And to be able to know that those, and monitor for integrity, once again, the integration of those platforms with QuickBooks in this case, because that's the preferred platform here, as a partner service, that's really key. It's critical.
Well, Dave, I definitely appreciate you taking the time here. I'm very happy that you're willing to jump on with us. Very happy for the long relationship we've had up to this date, and look
Yeah,
forward
yeah.
to the future continuing to work together.
Yeah, thanks, bud. I appreciate it.
Beautiful.
Whatever I could do. You guys have helped me as much as I've helped you, believe me.